Jeremy Scahill from Dropsite News, and the breaking news is that as of 11:15 a.m. local time, the ceasefire and exchange of captives deal has taken hold between Hamas and the Palestinians of Gaza and Israel. And we are joined now by a member of Hamas's political bureau, a longtime political figure within the Hamas movement, Dr. Basem Naim. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Naim.
Please, you are welcome.
So just in the big picture, what does this agreement represent for Hamas and the resistance movements in Gaza?
Thank you very much. First of all, we have to start to answer such a question. We have to start with October 7th. October 7th was for us as an act of defense. We were besieged for more than 17 years. We are occupied for more than 57 years in the 67 areas. We are, after the Nakba, 76 years. And we have always struggled for freedom and dignity and to get rid of the occupation, to have our own state. And we were never ready to accept improving the conditions of the prison. We are looking for freedom and dignity. And therefore, the first message of October 7th is that Palestinians are still there. They are struggling for their freedom and dignity and their own state. As a response to that, Israel has launched this horrific war, genocide, famine, supported by the West, mainly the Americans, unwavering support, with three main goals: to crush Hamas, to displace the people forcefully, the Palestinians, into another area, Sinai in Egypt, and to retrieve the soldiers, the captured Israelis, forcefully. Today, after signing this agreement, all these goals, Israel has failed to achieve any of them. Hamas is still there. Up to the last day there were attacks against the Israeli tanks and Israeli soldiers. And we have seen today in the streets of Gaza, Palestinians celebrating the withdrawal of the Israeli forces from the middle of the cities, including some of the fighters. They were not able to retrieve the captured Israelis forcefully. It was only through the negotiations, and no one Palestinians have left Gaza Strip forcefully. I think, yes, we cannot say that we have defeated Israel as a superpower in the region, but also at the same time, we can say that the resistance was so steadfast, so committed, that Israel was not able to defeat it. I think this is a good starting point for the next stage, where Palestinians have to struggle for their political project, which is an independent, self-sovereign state. We have, from day one in the negotiations, raised 5 points to be achieved. First of all, only the negotiations about the prisoners have to be only through negotiations. The return of all displaced people to their houses in the north, the withdrawal of the forces from the Gaza Strip, and a permanent ceasefire, opening the borders, allowing all the needs to get into. I think today we were able, despite of the very heavy prices, very costly negotiations, we have achieved all these goals.
You know, I'm sure you listen to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, and also you're following closely what is being reported in the Israeli press. And the spin that is being put on this right now by Netanyahu is that he has essentially a side deal with both outgoing President Joe Biden and President-elect Donald Trump, that Israel can essentially view this as a one-phase deal where they can try to get as many of their captives released from Gaza as possible and then continue the war. Trump's incoming national security advisor, Mike Waltz, said the other day on American television that he still believes and supports the goal of totally destroying Hamas. How do you prevent or deal with this situation where the Israelis are saying, essentially, the deal we signed is not really the actual deal and we're going to continue the war?
Look, we have no idea about such side deals. Maybe this is a hidden agenda between the two parties. we are dealing with what we have signed, 3 phases deal, have to end with a permanent ceasefire. We are committed to this deal. We will exert the maximum efforts to give this deal a chance to succeed. We are looking for how to prevent the war again, how to protect our people. We will do the best to protect this deal. What kind of side deals they have done, this is their business. But what I can say here, first of all, the American administration led by Biden, which we consider complicit, directly complicit in the genocide, they have used all what they can. They have dropped nearly 8 atomic bombs on Gaza Strip, more than 500,000 tons of explosive material and weapons reached Israel from America. More than $60 billion reached Israel from America. 4 times veto in the UN Security Council. I think they haven't spared any tool, anything to help the Israelis to achieve their goals, but they have failed. I don't think that any other administration, including Trump administration, can do more than what Biden administration have done. Second, I think again, Palestinians who struggled or who fought along the last 15 months and were ready to pay all the prices to defend their cause, to defend their freedom and dignity and right of return, they are still there. They are still there and they are still ready to continue the struggle and to pay the prices. Therefore, even if they return back, I'm sure our people will continue the struggle because we believe that this is a just cause, a just struggle, and we have all the guaranteed right by the international law to resist the occupation by all means, including armed resistance. What we are looking for is an independent state. If we can get it politically or through a UN resolution, UN Security Council resolution, this is the preferable way. We are not looking for to fight only for fighting. We are looking how to protect the future of our children. If we can reach this politically or diplomatically or legally, yes, this is preferable. But if not, I think all Palestinians are still ready to continue this struggle. And I have here to say that it was not because the American media and the Western media have always talked about Hamas and Israel and the fightings between Hamas and Israel. It is not about Hamas. It is about the Palestinian people because the Palestinians are struggling for these goals now for around 100 years, since 30s, last century. Now it is with Hamas. 20 years ago, it was with Fatah. 40 years ago, it was with PFLP, and so on and so on. Therefore, it is not about Hamas. If you crush Hamas and Hamas disappear, which will not happen, you will have a new generation of other Palestinians who are ready to continue this track of struggling for their freedom and dignity.
Well, and of course,
here
Secretary of State Antony Blinken, when he gave one of his farewell addresses, acknowledged that the number of fighters joining the armed resistance has grown, not shrunk, since the war began on October 7th.
Look, Hamas politically is representing around 40% to 50% of the people on the ground, because Hamas is not only a military wing. Hamas have social activities, have educational activities, religious activities, medical activities. This is a big political movement with different branches, different activities, and the arm wing is only one out of different activities. Therefore, Hamas will not disappear. Hamas will not evaporate, even if they crush the armed capabilities. Hamas is a political movement with a clear political goal, how to get rid of the occupation. And therefore, Hamas is still there. But I mean, if you go for election, Hamas might win with 40%, 45%, maybe 50%. But when you ask Palestinians about their stances when it comes to resistance, when it comes to how to get rid of the occupation, more than 90% are supporting Hamas. This is the polls done by neutral bodies, that more than 90% of the Palestinian people in the Gaza Strip, in the West Bank, and in the diaspora are supporting the vision of Hamas, how to get rid of the occupation. I mean, politically, socially, maybe 40% of the Palestinians are adopting the ideology of Hamas. But when it comes to the occupation, how to get rid of this, 90% are still supporting Hamas. We have here to say that, what do you expect? Gaza Strip is composed, the people in Gaza Strip, Palestinian in Gaza Strip are 2.4 million Palestinians. 70% of them are below 18. Around 70% are below 18. I mean, 70 or less are children. If these children today, after ceasefire, they have no house, no school, no hospital, no mosque, no church, no playground, no infrastructure, no water, no medicine, no food, and the Israelis continue, supported by the Americans, to commit all these crimes, and these young men with this desperate uh, present situation or current situation and desperate future, and they saw no horizon, no better future, and at the same time they have guns everywhere. What do you expect from a young man who has no vision about a better future, no school, no hospital, no water, he will continue fighting. Therefore, we have said it many times, we have to reach a ceasefire, we have to lift the siege, to open the borders, to help the Gazans to rebuild their life again from scratch, to rebuild schools and hospitals and mosques and churches and infrastructure, and to get their basic needs, to travel freely, to move around the world, and then to go for a political solution for this just cause. Without having a political solution for the Palestinian cause, based on international law, I think it is a matter of time when we will witness the next round of confrontation or escalation. It is not about Hamas, it is not about Gaza, it is about national goals. It is a matter of time. 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, I don't know. No one can bypass the Palestinian. No one can overcome the Palestinian. All these dreams of normalization or integrating Israel in the region without solving the Palestinian cause, it is illusions.
Just two more questions. First, on the issue of the timeline leading up to this ceasefire agreement, of course, Hamas had agreed back in the summer, officially on July 2nd, but even given indications earlier than that, that it accepted literally the same deal that is now being implemented. And then Netanyahu, with US support, sabotaged that deal being signed in the summer. President Biden, instead of punishing Israel, rewarded it with more weapons, more political support, and with Israel's expansion of the wars into Lebanon, attacks on Iran, and then you had Netanyahu claiming responsibility for the downfall of Bashar Assad's government in Syria. But then you have the micro situation where there were also delays right now in signing this agreement. The US and Israel have consistently lied and blamed Hamas for these delays. But I and other journalists have seen evidence that it was actually Israel that was causing the delays. I want to ask you what exactly happened here. There were two main issues as we understand it. One was that the Israelis were refusing to hand over detailed maps to the mediators and to Hamas on their withdrawal positions. And you've said that this was important because in previous agreements, the Israelis have sought to exploit any vagueness. And then the other was Israel including 9 male Israeli captives in the first phase. Talk about what happened that caused these actual delays right now in this agreement, because the US and Israeli narrative was that Hamas was imposing new conditions and was essentially delaying the deal.
Thank you very much. This is a very important question, especially for the narrative in the West, in particular in the United States, because unfortunately, again, we have an administration which was complicit directly in all what's happened for the Palestinians along the last 15 months. Look, after the last temporary ceasefire agreement in November 2023, we have done the maximum with the mediators to continue this ceasefire to end the whole issues, the prisoners, the withdrawal, the ceasefire. But Israel have said it clearly, after 1 week of a ceasefire, we are going to launch the war again. And this is exactly what they have done. On the 9th day, they have started to attack Gaza again. And at that time, we were aware that they have told the Americans that these are our goals, and the Americans have given them the chance to do it, to achieve it, to crush Hamas, displace the Palestinians. And you have heard from Joe Biden himself that Netanyahu has told him, I will wipe out the Gaza Strip from its citizen. Yesterday, we have heard him in the interview. And therefore, we have a chance in November 2023 to continue the negotiations to end the whole conflict. Anyway, they have refused, and the Americans and the West, they have given them a chance up to March 2024, and he failed. He failed to retrieve the captured Israelis. He failed to crush the resistance. He failed to displace the Palestinians from their homes outside Palestine into Sinai or something like that. In March, they have started the negotiations again. At the end of May 27, we have received the first Israeli proposal for a deal, for an agreement. And we have accepted this deal. This deal was presented to the international community through the very famous Biden speech. And immediately, few minutes after Biden's speech, we have welcomed this proposal, and we have said we are ready to negotiate this deal. Then this deal was also a part of the UN Security Council Resolution 2735. And we have also again said we are welcoming this, and we are ready to be committed to the UN Security Council resolution and to implement it. Up to 2 days ago, all the time, Netanyahu, was our assessment, was not planning or intending to go to a ceasefire or to end the war against Palestinians. And he has totally different agendas, partially personal agendas, how to protect himself, how to protect his political career, political agendas related to the right-wing coalition and these extremists and their expansion in the West Bank, even in Gaza, and to displace the Palestinians in the northern part of Gaza and to build the new settlements there. Their political vision toward the region, to attack Lebanon, Syria, Iran, and to expand Israel in this area. And they have shown publicly plans of the greater Israel. And lastly, he was not receiving enough pressure. At no time there was serious pressure from the American administration against Netanyahu and his government to go for a deal. Therefore, what we have signed 2 days ago is the same Israeli document and paper we have received in May 27. The agreement of July 2nd, it was the deal of May 27 plus two points added to this to guarantee that the parties will continue negotiating under the ceasefire conditions until we reach a final agreement. This is what only added to the deal of May 27. But since that time, more massacres, killing of people, destroying of houses, assassinating of our leadership, mainly the head of the movement who was negotiating with the Israelis. They have assassinated the man who is sitting around the table and negotiating and try to reach a ceasefire. Therefore, again, what we have signed 2 days ago is the same Israeli paper we have received from the Israelis through the mediator in May 27. And by the way, you can go back to the Israeli media and hear from Eisenkot and Benny Gantz, who said, we have received this paper on May 27, and with consensus, all the cabinet have accepted this as a deal. Therefore, again, I think Netanyahu on one side, who have totally different agenda, not any item of or any part of it is to reach a ceasefire, and the American policies here, the unwavering support for the Israelis, even to commit genocide. This is what we have received lastly. Look, for example, I give you a practical example of the last 2 days. In the agreement accepted or signed on Wednesday, 2 days ago, there was an agreement to give the parties 72 hours calm, without bombardment, without shooting, so that the people on the ground can prepare themselves and rearrange themselves, redeploy themselves, and prepare the names and the captured Israeli who will be handed in the first day. This was agreed upon and accepted. The Israelis in the government, they continue to discuss the agreement in their government, and they didn't announce an official acceptance of the agreement until yesterday evening, which means that between their official acceptance and the starting of the implementation of the deal was only around 12 hours. Therefore, it was not possible technically to hand over the names in the first hour, because it is impossible, because we have agreed upon 72 hours. And therefore, immediately Netanyahu said, look, Hamas is delaying the deal. Hamas is spoiling, sabotaging the deal. It is not Hamas. We have agreed upon 72 hours. What they have given us is only 12 hours. You can imagine all this destruction, all the dangers. They have shot people even few hours ago, after the start of the ceasefire agreement.
Last question for you, Dr. Naim. A minimum of 46 or 47,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been killed. Those numbers are almost certainly a dramatic undercount, because it's just the official bodies that the Gaza Health Ministry is able to identify, but other independent studies indicate it's going to be much larger, and you still have many thousands of Palestinians missing. I think the question must be asked, given the human toll that has been paid by the people of Palestine in Gaza, as you reflect on these 15 months of Israel's genocidal war, do you still think that Hamas made a just decision to launch the attack against Israel on October 7th?
This is a good question, despite it is a repeated question since October 7th with all media, but it is a good question. Look, if you have to choose between paradise and hell, and you choose hell, this is 100% a wrong decision. But if you choose between the levels in hell, this is a totally different story. What I mean, Palestinians before October 7th, they were suffocated by the siege. They were killed on checkpoints. Their land were taken in the West Bank. Jerusalem was Judaiized. Palestinians were expelled forcefully from their homes. Al-Aqsa Mosque every day attempt to change the status quo and so on. I mean, I have said it many times, between 2000 and 2023, before October 7th, more than 20,000 Palestinians killed in Gaza and on checkpoints in the West Bank. Palestinians have, for the last 17 years in Gaza, they were denied medicine and food, electricity, gas, communication, freedom to move. Therefore, we were not living in prosperous conditions, prosperous life, and suddenly we have this. We are under occupation. We are denied freedom and dignity. Therefore, we are struggling for our freedom and dignity. Therefore, we consider October 7th as an act of defense. It is not attacking anyone. We didn't attack Americans in New York. We didn't attack French in Paris or Japan. We have responded to people who are besieging the Gaza Strip, suffocating our children on a daily basis. Therefore, this is one. The second, if you have to choose between the form how to die by lacking medicine or lacking of food, or to die by, with an Israeli rocket, we have chosen to stand up, fighting for our dignity and freedom, to protect the future of our children, and to die by an Israeli rocket instead of dying silently, peacefully by lacking of medicine. We are not ready to be good victims. We are not ready to be silenced by anyone. This question is always for me indicating the idea, if you consider these material losses plus the losses of all our beloved people. By the way, when I talk about the Gazans, I am talking about myself. I am a Gazan. I'm still living in Gaza. My family is still in Gaza. I have lost a lot of my family, my smaller family, during this war. Today, I have received a lot of sad news that some of our family we were not aware about them. Are they killed or arrested or somewhere else? They have found a lot of them under the rubble in our houses. Therefore, I am talking about my family. But do you consider the war in First World War or Second World War, that killing of millions of people or destroying the cities like Dresden and Paris and London and others to defend the freedom of people, is it worthy or not? Because if you consider only these parameters as the only parameters for right and wrong, I think we have to reassess a lot of what has been written in history. We have seen the people in Vietnam. We have seen the people in Algeria. We have seen the people in South Africa and other countries who have lost millions of their own people to get their freedom and dignity. They have lost their cities. Again, as long as we are occupied, we have all the right to resist. But if we can achieve our goals, an independent, self-sovereign state and the right of return peacefully, politically, yes, this is the preferable way. Palestinians have offered a hand for peace in 1993. What's the result after Oslo Agreement? More settlements, more Palestinians killed, more Israeli aggressions. Palestinians everywhere are. By the way, not only in Gaza. Look, in the West Bank, there is no October 7th, there is no Hamas, there is no resistance. And despite of this, on a daily basis, Palestinians are killed and suffocated on checkpoints. In the West Bank, there are more than 570 fixed checkpoints and around 200 mobile checkpoints. Each city, each village is suffocated. You can see what's happening in Jerusalem. What these extremists, what they are doing in Al-Aqsa Mosque, despite this is against international law and they are trying to change the status quo. It was not the Palestinians who shredded the international law in front of the UN and behaved as a rogue state, as a state above the law. We have said it many times, please implement the international resolutions, and we are happy.
Dr. Basem Naim, would this deal have happened without Donald Trump?
Yes, no, because I think this was the election of Trump and his way of dealing with issues here and there. This is one of other factors which has led to this results finally. First of all, I think the failure of Israel to achieve any of its goals in Gaza, this is one of the main factors, because the army, I mean the IDF, have said in the last few weeks, we have nothing to do in Gaza. We are entering Gaza, killing people, destroying houses, and return back. We have no goals. We have nothing to do in Gaza. We are exhausted. Today, I have read some reports that at least 1,000 Israeli soldier was excluded from military service monthly. either wounded or killed or psychologically unable to continue. I think the failure inside Gaza, the internal pressure inside Israel, it was increasing. More than 80% of Israelis were for a ceasefire, supporting a ceasefire deal. 56% of them are from the right, from the right-wing population or peoples who are supporting the right. Third, maybe the change in America, yes, it has played a role because Biden himself have said it in many times. I was aware about Netanyahu plans. I was aware about Netanyahu intentions to commit genocide and so on, but he didn't do anything seriously to stop him. I think we have had a chance in March last year to reach a deal. If Biden has exercised enough pressure on him to stop there, but he didn't do it. And now President-elect Trump have said, I want to see an end of this war before the inauguration day. But on the other side, we are worried about what he has promised Netanyahu on the other side, maybe to annex most of the West Bank, to claim or to declare sovereignty over the West Bank, to or go for normalization with Arabic countries, because this cannot be done without stopping the war in Gaza. Maybe all this together has pushed Netanyahu to go for a deal. But I'm sure, based on what I have seen today and yesterday, Netanyahu and his group are trying to find any excuses to spoil and to sabotage the deal in the coming days.
Dr. Basem Naim is a member of Hamas's political bureau, longtime member of the Hamas movement, also a medical doctor. Thank you very much for being with us, Dr. Naim.
Please, you are welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much.